Welcome, everybody, to Beyond the Shadows. We have a fantastic episode up for you tonight. We're talking about the connected universe. I'm author and historian Mike Ricksecker. With me, as always, Shauna Wankel, the chat shenanigator from Edge of the Rabbit Hole, and a fantastic writer in her own right. She really is. She's been helping with editing A Walk in the Shadows. And
he hates me.
Oh, I love her. I love her. There's some times where I'm kind of like, really? But it all helps because I want it to be like a perfect manuscript. And so you're finding like some real nitty gritty stuff.
Yeah. Like I am like seriously hardcore nitpicky about stuff. So.
But it's good. It's really good.
We're literally sitting just a few feet away from each other. It's like, I'm sending you a screenshot. I think you should put a comma here. What in the world is this?
Right.
Why is this there? Yeah. So.
It's good. You guys will like the new book, A Walk in the Shadows.
On page 90. It's really good.
She's on page 90. Coming out in January. So that'll be more toward the end of the month. So we have The Ghosts of Black Hawk War coming at the beginning of the month from Dan Norvell and Larry Eisler. And then A Walk in the Shadows after. But yeah, we're doing the editing right now for A Walk in the Shadows. And so this is Beyond the Shadows. And we have, our topic for tonight is the connected universe. And so we've kind of talked about this stuff before. But there was a really interesting story that came out of Chaco Canyon when I was there, what was it, a week ago? It was a week ago yesterday. So it was a week and a day ago that I was there. And it's been a bucket list item of mine. It's the ancient Anasazi ruins. These are really like the descendants, the ancestors of the Hopi, at least, that's what is believed. And, very mysterious as to why they set up these, basically they would have been like temples. These are places of worship that they set up, astrally aligned. So they're all aligned to the stars. But why they chose this particular location, they didn't really live there. They only went there at certain times of the year, did their thing, and then they would abandon them again. So it's not known why they went there, when they started really going there, except that, they have approximations like 850 to 1150 AD, and they don't know why they stopped going there either. But for a couple hundred years, this is where they were going. And I met a family there. So the one guy, and I'm not gonna use any names right now till like we get permission and stuff like that, because I wanted to interview him, but he was an off-duty park ranger there at Chaco Canyon, and he was there with his mom, and I believe it was his brother. I never really got the second guy's name, but yeah, she was telling me the mom, being a descendant of the Anasazi, because she was Hopi. And, she was talking about how, she was in different parts of we were at Pueblo Bonito, and how she could actually feel and sense her ancestors there. She was really in tune to the spirit while she was visiting. And so, of course, I filmed there. And so one of the things that I was talking about there was the connection between the spirit and the sacred ground that we were at, and then, of course, the stars and, the rest of the universe, how it's all connected. And I've shown this photo before on some of our shows, which is right here. And this is an actual IR image of the universe. I think this was off the Kepler telescope. I can't remember which telescope. But basically, this is showing energy. These are all galaxies that it's showing here, and this is how they're all connected with the energy of the universe. So we're connected like this to the rest of the universe too. It's like a big web, which is really, really interesting, but it really goes to show how we are all connected. And so when we go to these historic locations, we go to these ancient sites, and we're interacting with spirit there, we need to keep in mind that, while yes, maybe it's Molly that we're talking to, or whomever, that while she's in spirit form and we are in human form, and there's this building around us and all that there are aspects of this that we can't really see with our naked eyes, that we're still connected to her on like other levels that we can't even really imagine. And I know you feel that with her.
Yeah, I think now it doesn't even surprise me whenever I look over and see her. So now it seems like she's almost like She's almost part of me now. It's almost like family. It's almost like I've had her for longer than I've known her. So, I think it's, our energies that have combined. I think that's why the attachment is there, Maybe she feels familiar with something about my energy. You never know. Everybody, maybe way, way, way down the line, or maybe in another life, maybe we knew each other and she recognized me. She was like,
could be.
Oh yeah. This woman, this girl that I follow, that I don't really let her see what I look like, or I don't even tell her that Molly is really my name, or, hopefully that part of the connection clicks soon someday, because I'd sure like to know.
Yeah. I really do wonder if it's, a connection from other lives. And there's also the idea that, that there really aren't other lives, that we're all living everything concurrently at one time. I mean, I actually believe in reincarnation. I believe we go somewhere for a little while and come back, which kind of throws a monkey wrench into my whole stacked time theory. But because we don't fully understand the way this universe works, I mean, it's possible that all is concurrent as well. So, got to do this for Tim Schoen. So, this episode of Beyond the Shadows is brought to you by a Haunted Road Roast. It helps you hunt ghosts. That's right. And earlier, if you were watching Edge of the Rabbit Hole, it helps you hunt Bigfoot. So, and another thing, since I saw it back there. So, this is our award from the Shock Fest Film Festival. It is the Excellent Media in the Paranormal Field. So, Haunted Road Media is now an award-winning media company.
Yeah.
Which is very, very cool. I mean, I never really thought that we would get something like this. This is kind of something that's reserved for, movies, films, stuff like that. But I guess we kind of do that.
Yeah. I mean, we try it. Everything is, as raw and as real as possible without having to fake anything for entertainment value. So that's why an award, like anybody can get an award for being fiction. We at least get an award for being truthful.
We keep it real.
So
we absolutely keep it real. So
awards like that mean a lot more to me anyway.
So, I got to really thank everybody, from Haunted Road Media. I know I've, made the post, and I totally botched the acceptance speech there because it was one of those moments because we never do this in the paranormal field. We don't have stuff like this in the paranormal field, so as the first couple went forward, and it's like, shit, I'm nominated for an award here. If I win this, I'm the only representative of Haunted Road Media there. It's like, I have to come up with something to say. So I know I totally botched the actual speech. But, I have to thank all of you, the viewers of Haunted Road Media. I have to thank all the Haunted Road Media authors, everybody who's made it possible, from like Adam Tillery and all of his artwork for all the books. Anybody who's helped out on any of the videos. We've had some of you in there as guests, whether it's been on the Edge of the Rabbit Hole show, maybe a calling guest here. We were just talking about Mineral Springs earlier, so Tom and and Dustin and Nick, you guys are all there for that. And anybody who's been out to the Haunted Road Media Paracon, I mean, I can't sit here and just I'd take all night rattling names off. Vanessa, of course, Katie Hopkins, who's helped with marketing as well, and kind of like I said, all the authors and everything. So, really thank you guys for everything you've done to help support, and all of you Patreon patrons. Tim Schoen's always a big supporter out here, and like B3 Airspace and Zippy Davis, and everybody like that as well. Really everybody who comes out and helps support, whether it's here on Facebook or YouTube or wherever, whether you're sharing Twitter tweets and, all that stuff. So, and then the guys at Shockfest. So, Matt Ross Valley and Gil Calvaria, thank you guys very, very much. Appreciate it. So there we go. So we did that.
Pretty cool looking little.
He is. It's supposed to be a Reaper character. I'm not exactly sure from where, but it's supposed to be the Reaper. Okay, guys, so let's get back on track to what's at hand, which is the connected universe. And so they got a bunch of congratulations down there. So thank you guys, really, really. So connected universe, and we were just talking about like maybe your connection with Molly, but this can even come to like locations. Like you always felt really connected to the Goldenrod Showboat, and that called out to me when I first visited there, and that connected us. Mineral Springs has always been one. Stone Line Inn in Guthrie, Oklahoma for me, because I've always been like, it's always taken aback. So there's like certain locations that always kind of just call out to us, and so I wonder, and I even wonder if like certain countries, like maybe it's not even just ancestral, but maybe places that we had, lived in past lives that call out to us. I think locations are connected to us as well.
I feel like going overseas is probably going to be hard to drag me back home.
Yeah, because you've always wanted to go to Ireland.
I've always wanted to go there, even a long time ago. I couldn't even tell you how old I was the first time I thought, I really want to go there. But then as time went by, I really wanted to go. and then after getting into more of the paranormal and supernatural field, I feel even more drawn to it. And I feel like some things are just going to kind of click whenever I get over there, and see what happens. Yeah.
I mean, I've always had a calling to any of those places with castles. Scotland's always been a big draw for me. And yes, I do have some ancestry there. It's like one leg of the whole thing. But there's just something about that area of the world that's always drawn me. And even Vanessa saying that, she imagined, because I said, I think there's a place I'm supposed to go back and retrieve something from a past life. And so she started talking about, a body of water between two land masses, and, how the water flowed north and south, or basically was set up north and south. And it's like, wait a second, that's kind of describing like, the water there between Ireland and, the rest of the UK. So, I mean, Isle of Man is there. So I don't know if that's it, but it's like that part of the world has always been a draw. And I've always, and I've always wondered why, why is that such a draw? So somehow, some way I'm connected to it. You're connected to it.
Well, and I don't know if she's watching, but when my friend Becca went overseas and she came back and brought me like stones from all the different castles and some from Loch Ness and all that. And as soon as, I started touching them and handling them, you knew it wasn't just rocks, but then so even that, cemented, the feeling that I had that I really needed to go over there. And I still have all of those. They're in like a little, I keep them all in a stash. And, but I want to go over and get my own. So, yep.
So Tanya Rogers says, all of those callings are different for all of us too. That proves it. Like mine is the Wild West in late 1880s. Which is really interesting because, I've always had, Chocolate Canyon, we've just talked about Ireland, Scotland, that part of the world, the castles and all that. Chocolate Canyon is like far different, but yet that's always been a draw for me. So it makes you wonder if there wasn't just like one random life out there somewhere. Yeah. Because, and you, again with you, you've had the Ireland and Scotland thing and all that too. But you've also had like some past life regression where there were apparently some Native American roots.
Yeah. And then, maybe, repressed, that kind of stuff is repressed. And I wouldn't have even thought about it. But, Campsville, is very, I feel like maybe, when I first started being more open to everything, it took, living, in a house that was really active to kind of unlock it. But then it just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. There's so much Native American energy in Canswell. It's just crazy. And in the cafe and, the school. And there's, I've always been, and then I worked for the archaeology department there for a little bit. And plus just some of the random just stuff that I know that I could feel was, Native American, then I, had that reading from that blind shaman from Frida's, and who figured out that he and I were connected. That's why he felt such a strong, pull to talk to me on the phone. Even though he'd never met me before in his life, and just some of the things that he said, but there was a lot of witchy shit in there. And, I feel like I saw one of those, past lives the other night in a dream. I talked about that, and it was crazy what I felt, what I saw. But Native American past lives also. And that didn't really shock me after, listening to it. It's just like, oh yeah, I don't remember those lives, but they certainly make sense, given the things that I feel, the things that I think about, that I see, the things that places that I want to go and stuff like that, stuff that I'm interested in. A lot of that stuff just kind of started making sense to me. So I still have never met James ever.
Okay.
I wouldn't even know how to find him, but I feel like if I find him, it'll just be a random.
All right.
I would, looking back, I wish I had,
Yeah, but it's still really, really interesting. That type of past life regression like that. And there's Andrew Helton down there. I've always wanted to go to Romania. No idea why, really. Don't know much about it, but yet he has a draw there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it makes you wonder how and why we're connected to these different locations. So, is it a past life? Is there something about your energy and the energy of the location that just resonates? And that said, we have the stars and the cosmos there. I used to playingly as a kid and this was like when I was in third grade. Okay. I used to make fun that, I'm from Pluto, that was like a joke of mine. But what's funny? Yeah, I mean, maybe there's something there. Your friend Tara Norwood, she has actually said that before, because she made a comment on one of my posts one time about that, and had said that it was something that she used to always say, that she was from Pluto. And I'm like, I used to say that same shit when I was like in third grade, So. It was on the Pluto Loves when they were talking about Pluto becoming a planet again. It was on that post, and so it makes you wonder. Okay, why would there be a draw to Pluto? I'm thinking that there's something there. Do I know if it was a planet or anything like that? Like I believe it is the ninth planet, but do I believe it was inhabited by people? Well, maybe not people. And this will kind of get into the extraterrestrial thing a little bit, but maybe there are life forms there, very different than ours, that are able to live in, with low oxygen levels and maybe a very small scale, or whatever it is out there, very cold environment, because they have proved that there are, some creatures, very, very small, that are able to survive out in space. And you would think now, well, how do they without oxygen and it's cold and radiation? Somehow they do, though. And so maybe there were life forms that were on Pluto, that maybe I was one of those life forms at some point. And so I have a connection to Pluto. I don't know. But we are connected. Our planet is connected to Pluto. It's connected to the rest of the solar system, the rest of the galaxy, and the entire universe. It's all connected. So why not? Why not? So I do want to say that, okay, Agatha Holmes had posted, Mike and Shauna gives us a platform to speak and not feel like we're crazy. That is most awesome. And I appreciate that. That's one of the things that, if you go into the Encounters with the Paranormal books, it's something I repeatedly say in the introduction, is that we're all in this together. We've all had experiences. Even if you don't relate to any of my stories in those books, you might relate to somebody else's, and to know that there are other people out there that have had the same experience, and you're not crazy. Even though you might think I sound crazy for talking about being connected to Pluto. So it is what it is. So yeah, they talk about Arizona, Tombstone, all kinds of stuff down there, because we kind of got into that a little bit, I get. Okay, so Tanya Rogers, here's an interesting question. So what about heaven and hell? Maybe just different connections of the web? Ooh. Dun, dun, dun. Now we're getting to some philosophy here, right? I mean, they would be different planes of existence, right? So if you believe in heaven and hell, you would believe in, I mean, these are actually descriptions of different dimensions, I find it kind of interesting when people, scoff at the idea of, beings from other dimensions or even aliens. It's like, a lot of those descriptions sound just like the heaven and hell descriptions that we describe. If you believe in that, or, the idea, I go into this in A Walk in the Shadows, the idea of living in a simulated world, right? And so if you view heaven or the afterlife world or whatever as like the real world, and we're living in the simulation, and then like some of these beings that we're interacting with are just other beings from the real world coming into ours, I mean, we're still connected. I mean, think of it, if you think of it as the Matrix jacked in, it's all connected. It's one way of thinking of it. Now they really think I'm crazy. And I don't know if I want to ask you about heaven and hell because of your different religious convictions or non-convictions, maybe.
Republic of Tea has elderberry tea. They have elderberry flower or elderflower.
For those on the podcast, she's drinking tea.
And elderberry tea. And if you're feeling under the weather, oh my God, drink elderberry tea from Republic of Tea.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to do this. They're going to really think I'm crazy as shit now. Okay. So Agatha Holmes says, I just remember Pluto the dog from Disney. So I do a little bit of Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
She's like, oh shit, what the hell is he going to do now? I haven't done this for a while, so. Pluto, you dumb mutt. There we go.
Oh my
He
God.
says that in the Christmas special. It's the holidays. When Pluto knocks over the Christmas tree, he's getting into it because the chipmunks are there. Here we go.
I don't do any Disney voices.
Yeah. I got that one. When I was younger, I could do a little bit of Ronald Reagan, but I can't do that anymore. Melanie Baggy, the poll is what propels us forward. Continuing questioning. Yep. Continue to question everything. It's a lot of these different theories and things that we're throwing out right now, that we have been ever since we started doing all this. I mean, I reserve the right to change my mind. It's a bunch of theories, and we're molding and shaping them and trying to figure things out. So, but I do believe we're all connected. I think that one is one that we could say is certainly true, especially, and I'll go back and show it here again. Given something like that, I mean, this is infrared of our universe. It's connected. It is connected. You see the energy going between the galaxies there. Those bright yellow lights, those are galaxies. And that purple stringy stuff that looks like a spider web, that's the energy between them. So, but yeah, I mean, go ahead and look that one up for yourselves. I guess when we throw this up to YouTube, maybe we'll throw some links down in there and all of that. So they're laughing, and I thought that my Mickey voice was pretty good. Yeah. I would throw that one at my kids. We'd have some fun with it. So, Pam Lamb Presnell. I hope the simulation is coming to an end. Well, we talked in the last episode of Beyond the Shadows about ancient aliens and ancient civilizations, and that whole that cycle going around and around and around. That civilization seems to, now mainstream archaeology would say it just kind of all goes in a linear pattern, kind of up. It would be kind of like a hockey stick now, because in recent years we've kind of like done this, right? Mm-hmm. With technology, it's kind of gone crazy. But if you look at the evidence that's out there, it speaks more to that civilization would start rising and something would happen and crash and start all over again, and then start rising again and then crash. And so we go through these cycles over and over again. And so, I think maybe part of our draw to some of these different places has to do with, I think there's something inherent in us that knows that, knows about how things were different back then, that knows that there's lost knowledge out there, that there's different secrets out there that just been lost to time. And I think, especially people involved in this field, I think there's that genuine curiosity to find out what the hell happened. What are we missing now that we knew back then, as we continue to do this. And so, is the end coming? That's always kind of the thing. There's always like, in any of the religions, there's always a beginning and the end. When talking about the simulation, there's always a point in which the simulation starts and you can access it and all that, and the point at which it ends. So is this world going to come to an end? But I think there's different, this really almost goes back to the freaking Matrix. So there's different iterations of it. And so like in the movie trilogy, like Neo was the 7th incarnation of all the ones before, right? So, but that's kind of almost really how our civilization has gone. It's started to go up. Oh, something happened. Start all over again, and then we go up and down. So I think it's kind of like that. So maybe this one, considering where we are now with our society and technology and all that, we might be getting close to the end of at least this iteration.
Do you know
what
I've been sitting here thinking? Like, I really hope it ends up being like in Lamb, where we all become truly enlightened and we just become energy.
We just become energy. We just turn invisible.
Yeah.
We just turn invisible.
Too enlightened, become pure energy, and you can't be seen. You can only be heard.
Right.
Everybody needs to read that book. Oh my God.
That is funny. Yes, we just all become invisible. Yeah.
You have to read the book to get it.
Yeah.
Lamb, the Gospel
it's
According
funny.
to Biff, by Christopher Moore. Everybody read it.
It's good, but there are some great points in there.
Yeah, unless you're the kind of person that becomes offended religiously, then don't read the book. It will be a smack in the face of whatever you believe. I mean, yeah, I think it's funny.
It is. No, I definitely recommend it. Remember, I have to get that from my mom for Christmas this year. Don't let me forget.
Your mom.
Don't let me forget.
She hasn't read it yet.
No.
Oh my God.
No, she wanted to read it because I told her about it, and she hasn't read it yet. I was going to get it for her for Christmas this year.
My dad read it.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't know what to think about it.
So Melanie Baggy, trying to reach balance, perhaps. I mean, that could be it. We talk about needing to learn lessons while we're here, and maybe we learn something and we go off and come back, and so maybe all that is eventually balancing out. But keep in mind, you have these different principles that have always been with us. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, or the yin and the yang, and things like that. So yeah, there is a balance, but how do you really observe that balance? How do you really define that balance? I guess because something could balance out, but if the one thing is like really, really good, balancing out would be really, really bad. The new Star Wars movie's coming out here, Rise of Skywalker, right? And I haven't really enjoyed the new trilogy. And going back to the prequel ones, which were kind of almost equally as bad, they made this point of saying that there was going to be the one to bring balance to the Force. And I don't think these guys really realized what that meant. You have to think about it. At that time, there was like a whole crap ton of Jedi running around, right? They didn't even really know that the Sith was around still, but there was two. So there's the Palpatine, who became the evil emperor, or Darth Sidious, and then he would have a number two, an apprentice. So there's Darth Maul and Count Dooku and all that, who eventually. So to balance that out, because there's only two Sith, you would then only need two Jedi. So yeah, Anakin Skywalker balanced the Force by becoming Darth Vader and killing almost everybody. That brought balance. It wasn't what they thought it was going to be. So you kind of have to be careful when you start talking about bringing balance to something, because you have to kind of step back a little bit and question, okay, what would balance look like? Well, if you have a whole bunch of like good over here, to balance it out, you need a whole bunch of bad over here. So, and I don't think we consider that most times. Robert Hanna, what do you think happened to the lost civilization of Atlantis? Good question. This actually would have been great for, I don't think we talked about Atlantis last episode when we talked about ancient aliens. So, not that I think Atlantis was a bunch of aliens. I'll ask Shauna real quick. Do you think Atlantis was real?
Probably.
I thought you were going to say, why not?
I mean, it doesn't mean that I think that it happened exactly how, but there's got to be a nugget of truth somewhere else. Where did it come from? Somebody tripped on some acid or licked a frog and was like, hey, I think this happened.
Yeah, Plato was tripping. I mean, Plato is supposed to have gotten that story from the Egyptians. And that story, if it had been with the Egyptians, was probably in the Library of Alexandria, which is gone. So one of the wonderful things that could possibly come out of Egypt still, possibly under the Sphinx. You talk about connected universe. Edgar Cayce. God, he was connected to freaking everything, wasn't he? So, 100 years ago, Edgar Cayce's talking about, that Sphinx that's out there? There's a secret room under one of the paws. Actually, he said the right paw. And sure enough, in recent years, they do some ground penetrating radar and discover, there's a hidden room under the right paw. So people speculate about, are there possible, lost scrolls under there? Maybe they were, if not from Alexandria, like items and scrolls that would have been in Alexandria if they had ever gotten up there. But basically like lost knowledge. So is the secret to Atlantis there under the Sphinx paw? I don't know. But yeah, given what you're saying, some nugget of truth. Yeah, I believe there was an Atlantis. That there was an ancient race of beings that were highly civilized for the time. Do I think that they had computers and cameras and stuff like that? Not in the sense that we know of. I think they had other high technology that was higher for the time, probably knew some things that we didn't, like building construction and how they could do all these crazy things with the stones and all that stuff. So yeah, I believe that they did exist. I can't possibly speculate as to where. There's a lot of I've seen and read and watched a lot of stuff on Atlantis, and it seems like everybody has a great idea, but they can't ever prove that that is the correct idea. So Genevieve Rogue, NASA's already got stockpiles of seeds and special people to reseed somewhere, and distributing their they're always looking for somewhere else. As for the rest of us, question mark. Yeah, connected universe. Here's an interesting one to throw out there. The human race seems to be connected to Mars. We seem to have this longing for Mars, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
So people speculate that humans originally came from Mars. Possibly. So is it one of these, we came from Mars, seeded Earth. Earth's getting fucked up, so now we're going to go back to Mars. Sean was like, why not?
That probably space is the one place that I don't ever feel a pull for.
Right.
I've just never.
You've always been pretty grounded here, and I've had a bit of a longing for space.
Yeah, I mean, I love the moon. I love the stars. I love the astronomy. I love stuff like that. I've just never felt I need to go up there. I've just not felt that.
That was something I actually looked into when I was in the Air Force. I did look into how to possibly get into the astronaut program, and I wasn't going to meet the quality. Basically, my eyesight was going to prevent me from that. But it's yes, they are looking at reseeding somewhere. They have to. Because overpopulation here is a real thing. It's not a joke, and I'm not trying to fearmonger. I have mentioned this before, that we do need to look at getting off the planet. It's not viable in the long run. I mean, in the serious long run, billions of years from now, the sun will encompass the Earth and destroy the planet. That is going to happen. There's no way out of that one. Of course, it's billions of years from now, so people don't really look at that as like, okay, they don't seriously look at that, but it will happen. In the short term, overpopulation is real. People say, well, there's so much open space out there that we could, I just spent, I don't know how many days driving through the freaking desert. It's open space. Yes, you could stick people there. I don't know how well they would survive and adapt. I mean, it's just as beautiful as like the stones and the rocks and all that were. It's not hospitable, and I spent 3 years in Alaska. I don't want to go back there. So there's space all over the place, but not really nice livable space. And our nice livable space is getting taken up. Our farmland is shrinking. You got to think about this. The farmland is shrinking while the population is increasing. So then we have, and you worked for them, places like Monsanto that's, developing these, different seeds and whatnot to produce what they would call a better, more dense crop. Yes, they can now get more more corn into a square foot than they used to be able to. But you want to tell them what happened to you and touching their seeds? This is where we're headed.
Yeah, it burned, like literally blistered my skin whenever we're supposed to wear gloves and long sleeves, and no matter how hot it is, you had to have every portion of your skin covered at all times, including April. If April is still in the chat room, she worked there with me. I don't think she was there the day that I got burned, but so they immediately yanked me over to one of the wash stations and was trying to flush it out, and that kind of became the, oh my God, that's like inside my body. So if it's doing that to my skin, what is it doing to my internal organs? And so, it didn't really last too long after that. So,
Yep. So, short-term solution to try to feed the population growth is to create these toxic seeds. And I can't imagine what that's putting into the ground that actually go back out into the plant. That we end up consuming. Or, a lot of that gets fed to the animals as well. Like our, pigs and chickens and all that we end up eating from the meat section of the store. Because a lot of that goes to them as well. So yeah, overpopulation is a problem, and we're either going to suffer some sort of human cataclysm here with that. Again, not trying to fearmonger. It's just realistic. Or we need to look at getting off the planet. Yes, Mars seems like the most logical place right now. Is that going back to where we once came from? Maybe. There's also that other planet out there. Well, I say planet, but it's an asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter that people speculate had once been a planet. So it could always be from there too. We don't know. But yeah, our connections to the universe. Justin Brown coming in late a little while ago. He said he came in late, so I'm just quoting him. He says, everything comes from the stars, according to present scientific theory. If that is true, we're all connected through the formulation of stars, and then when we die, our bodies go back to the earth. We are 60% water. The water from our dead bodies goes back to the water sources of the earth and back into nature, and other people breathe and drink that water. The other stuff gets broken down into plant food. The plants use that, and we use plants for food. See the connection? See the cycle? Well, he's true. From the very beginning there, everything comes from the stars. Yes, we are actually all made of stardust. That's not a cute saying. We are. Everything that formulated from the solar system billions of years ago, we're a part of that. And then as far as the cycle he talks about here, all that kind of gets recycled. It's kind of like what I've talked about before. Does water have memory?
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. If water could talk. Well, I spent a few days as a young drop in Cleopatra. It's true though, that it gets cycled and cycled and cycled, and so any of what we're consuming now was actually consumed by the ancients long, long ago. So we are connected on a physical level like that. Mm-hmm. So, well, let's throw this out there. So if we're connected physically to everything that has always been here and always will be here, can we use that to then connect with it spiritually as well? You think? Maybe. Like if we have a physical, well, okay, like you do the grounding a lot. So, if you have a physical connection to the earth, the water, all that, and you recognize that, you consciously recognize it. When you go out there to do the grounding and the stuff with the moon and all of that, are you then able to, for lack of a better term, tune in better?
Whenever I go out to, usually I feel the need to ground whenever I've had whenever everything's just like, cluttered, whenever I feel drained, whenever I feel, just not myself, and I feel like I need a little pick-me-up. I could do caffeine and that helps, but I go out there, especially under a full moon, or if it's nicer outside with bare feet, I just feel, for the time that I'm out there, I feel better. And it's not just because, I'm getting fresh air, or I'm out here by myself and everybody's leaving me alone and I'm just able to sit here and reflect. It's almost like the moment that I put my feet on the ground, it's just like, hi, universe. I just feel better in bare feet. That's why I don't like being cold. Can't run around bare feet as much. Because in the summertime, I think that's why I like to wear flip-flops so much.
Right.
I don't like to have anything
keeps
on my
you closer.
It keeps me, you're closer if you don't have anything in between you and the ground. Some people don't believe in that. And I'm not saying, I'm I've read that grounding is supposed to make you feel that way. So yeah, that makes me feel that way. I don't really care what anybody else says about it. I care about what it does for me. What do I feel when I do it? It may not be the same for me as it is for somebody else, but I care about what I think. So,
all right,
works for me, and I always recommend it to anybody who's just, just not feeling it. I tell them just, during the day, during night, I don't care where you go. Just go somewhere where there isn't anybody to bother you, and just take off your shoes and just, plant yourself. Give yourself some roots. Pretend like you have roots, and you can feel them growing in the ground. And actually, tune everything else out and close your eyes and actually, visualize that. And, if you can tune everything else out and just think about what it is that you're wanting to feel and what it would look like in your mind's eye, you will feel so much better.
Yep. I don't do it often enough. So, or at all. I'm not a flip-flop kind of guy. I'm just not. I have a hard time with people sporting their toe jam and stuff like that. So I'm just, she'll roll her eyes, but that's always been my take. She doesn't.
I wouldn't.
Not like that anyway.
I usually give my feet a once over before I expose them to the public.
Yeah, but some people don't. And it's like you're walking around a grocery store and you're like, oh, dude, cover it up. Some people just should not. It should just be a law. Some people should not. So, in any case.
I do know over in Scotland, Ireland, weather depending, I'm probably not going to be wearing shoes much.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not. Because you will really want to connect then.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'll get to yours here in a second, Kathy Ciliento. Justin Brown, a follow-up comment. I like the idea that life was seeded on Earth by meteors and debris from space, other planets colliding. Yeah, panspermia. I totally buy into that a lot of things are coming in from outside this planet. They've shown water being trapped in meteors coming from outside, and other microbes and things like that coming in on these objects. Some of the different creatures that are out there, like octopi, they're basically like alien to any other species on the planet. So it makes you wonder where some of these things are coming from. And they've shown enough about the microbes coming through the atmosphere that are surviving, the viruses and all kinds of stuff that actually come in from outside the planet to here. I definitely agree with that one, that stuff comes in from outside. Panspermia. So Kathy Ciliento, I'm gonna try to, I hope I don't butcher this. So I have a question. If time is man-made, are we correct to assume that numerology, when it comes to time, although often associated with the paranormal alongside astrology and similar divinatory arts, certain times have different meanings, like 11:11 or 4:44? Are we to believe that there are real messages coming to us? According to some, they believe it's messages from angels. I hope that makes sense of what I'm trying to say. So, I know that, okay, like with the time, I do believe time is a man-made construct. It's what we came up with to describe our reality that we're experiencing. So, we came up with seconds, minutes, all that to describe how long it takes to do something. Or back in ancient times, they needed that to figure out like crop rotation and things like that. So, we did invent the concept of time to do those sorts of things. And the Mayans, figured out time for when the world was going to end, or the long cycle, the long count calendar. So a lot of that had practical applicability back then. Now we just look at a watch or whatever and like, oh, it's this time of day. So we don't even really think of it in those terms. As far as like numerology, I do think that there are some interesting things when it comes to numerology, as far as like the times, like 11:11 or what all. There's something to it, but I can't answer precisely what it is. So I know a lot of people point to, it's 11:11 or it's 1:11 or whatever. So when my old car blew up. It didn't blow up. It got hit by a deer. She laughs.
It blew up.
Well,
Kinda.
Kinda. And something blew it up. In any case, if you looked at the numbers, it was 317,137 miles. If you look at the numbers between the commas, they added up to 11 on either side. 3 plus 1 plus 7 equals 11, and then vice versa on the other side. 11, 11. So, again, I was really hurt by that car, getting destroyed like that, because I obviously had driven it a lot and was trying to see how far I could go with it. And it wasn't anything mechanical that died on it. It was something physical. But when I got this car, and our studio's in a garage, so I'm pointing right at the car, the shadow. The shadow knows. The shadow. When I got that car, and they drove it over to me from another lot, and I sat down in it to drive it for the first time, the miles on it were 111. So that tells me right there that the universe was letting me know that it was okay, that this was meant to happen, that old car, maybe there was something bad that was going to happen to it, even worse than getting hit by a deer, something, maybe a mechanical failure or whatever. And because I was I was adamant that I was going to keep it forever. But maybe the universe kind of intervened, and I'm sorry for the deer, threw that deer out there so that it would happen. And the numbers let me know it was okay. This is what was supposed to happen. And this was my new car that I was supposed to have.
I always worried about you in the car traveling long distances. That other one, I was like, oh man, something's going to happen.
Yeah, you were always worried with that one because it was an old car and it had a lot of miles.
And you put a lot of miles on it even. So, I mean, I get uncomfortable at the, whenever it, gets up over like close to like 150 or whatever. I'm like, oh my God,
right.
Stuff's going to start falling off. It's going to blow up in the road. It's going to shut down, and yours had twice as much as my outside of my comfort zone. And there was no way I would make long distance trips in it. But you were like, going to Maryland, going to wherever, 300 and some odd thousand
going to Rhode Island or, Yeah. Yeah, would that thing have made the Chaco Canyon trip? Actually, I ended up going all the way out to Vegas to pick up that award. Actually, I didn't know I was picking up that award. I was just going for the film festival and the signing and all that. But, yeah. So I think that was the universe, the connected universe, reaching out and saying, yo, Mike, it's time. And that's the way it let me know it was okay. It was through numbers. So numbers definitely have meaning. Absolutely. Robert Hanna, we got to wrap it up here in just a little bit. So, but he asked, so if you believe everything is connected, is that why you're skeptical of the existence of parallel universes? So I've talked before here about my view on the multiverse. I believe that there can be parallel universes on a limited scale. I would think that they would have to be like some sort of finite number. What I don't buy into is this idea of the multiverse, which basically what that is for every decision that's made by anybody, like it spawns off an entirely new parallel universe. So you would have there's 8 billion people on the planet right now, right? So with every decision that everybody makes, it would spawn off another parallel universe. I mean, do you realize how many? I mean, it would be infinite. Like an infinite number of parallel universes being spawned off daily. I mean, think about how many thousands of decisions you make per day. And a decision is something simple, from like me choosing my words now. For me to just do that with my hand is a decision to do, right? Me picking up this, mug to take a sip right now, this is a decision. I'm not going to buy that just spawned off an entirely new parallel universe just because I took a sip out of that mug right now. I think where people are kind of okay with the idea of the multiverse is, if it's something big, like that car, getting hit by the deer. Like, I think they were like, well, maybe there's a universe where you still have the car and a universe, now where you don't. And it's like, yeah, but that's just a big thing. Think of all the decisions that came up to leading up to that car, getting hit. I mean, every little thing that happened that day. I was at an event in Iowa. So, I mean, there was a crap ton of people that I talked to throughout the day. There were places I stopped along the road. What if I would have, left a couple minutes earlier or a couple minutes later? Those are all different decisions throughout the day. If I would have decided to pack up the coffee before the books or vice versa, all those little things throughout the day would have made a little inkling of difference somewhere, right? Which would have, to the multiverse theory, spawned off an entirely different universe and an entirely another Mike. And at that level, I can't get into it. But there are some theories that I would give consideration to. They do have to do with reincarnation to a degree, where in the home world, or whatever you want to call it, for lack of a better term, that when we pass and we go up there and we meet with people that, kind of our soul group, our soul family, whatever, maybe past family members, what have you. But some people aren't like entirely there. Like they're there, but not fully, because their energy is split between different worlds that are playing out at that same time. So they might have a soul on Earth. I mean, obviously, if you're meeting up with them in the home, whatever, there's part of their soul that's up there. But then maybe there's a part of their soul that's on Earth. And maybe there's a part of their soul that's in this universe, in that universe. So their soul might be split into different fractions between some different universes. I don't believe that can be split infinitely, but, from these different theories that I've read up on, a couple of times. So I'll give that one credence. It's almost like if we go back to like Harry Potter and the Horcrux. Now, of course, that's a fictional tale, but those ideas, she incorporated a lot of mythology and a lot of theory from ancient times into those stories. So it comes from there, but that's a pop culture reference for anybody who's trying to imagine a Horcrux and getting split, his soul getting split 7 times, which actually, you're like, oh, what the fuck is he talking about? The ancient Egyptians believed that there were 7 parts of the soul. So it kind of plays all into stuff like that. So on that level, but yeah, not the multiverse. Kathy Ciliento, the show just keeps getting better. I love you guys here in the chat, are so awesome. Yes, our Mad Hatters down there in the chat are absolutely awesome. All right, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap all of this up for now. Oh my God, Melanie Baggy, love when Mike starts really getting into something the best. Yeah, I start like just rambling on with all kinds of ideas and stuff, don't I? It's like, that's why the first show is called Edge of the Rabbit Hole, because we dive right down. It's kind of like the edge, and we're staring down, and then yeah, we're gonna go down there. Beyond the Shadows, I mean, it's the same thing. This is the Edge of the Rabbit Hole after show. Beyond the Shadows, the shadow knows.
Yeah, the car is even personalized now.
It is. Don't tell them how. People that have seen it know, but I don't want that actually public. Okay. The people who know. It's like Tom and Nick, and like they noticed it. Brandy Green, when we were at Iowa there a few weeks ago, she was like, "Is that your car?" Yeah. So, all right. So let's go ahead and do some quick shout outs here. Melanie, don't stop. Appreciate that. It is getting a little bit late though. We have some wrap up stuff to do on the Edge of the Rabbit Hole stuff from earlier. Unless you guys have any last questions down there, maybe we'll take one more. So do you have any final thoughts? No?
I'm good.
Yeah, Shauna's good. I think she's ready for some ice cream.
I don't even know if I'm going to have that. I'm just tired.
She's just tired. So
Early morning.
I did see something here from Kathy Ciliento from earlier. What about going under the ocean? We talked about that briefly with Ken Gerhard about because when we were talking about different cryptids and ancient creatures that maybe are still around that people thought had gone extinct but may actually still be around. Where did they go? There's many hidden places still within the oceans. There are deep places there that we still haven't yet explored. So it's possible that they've gone there, and there's a lot of secrets still under the ocean that we just don't know what the heck is going on under there. So and it's wild, some of the things that we're finding when we do get deeper and deeper as our technology grows. We have to pressurize the equipment that goes down there, and we're discovering sea creatures and fish down there that have a regular skin and skeleton and all that stuff, and it's like, how in the world is their body withstanding that pressure? But it does. So yeah, Kathy, you look tired. Go get a coffee, go to bed. Well, that's kind of like contradictory. Get a coffee and then go to bed. I mean, decaf, yeah. So, all right, Debbie Knapp, I believe that the part of our brain that we don't use holds the answers. You feel if we do, we might distrust life as we know it. Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Lucy, that explores the concept of opening up the mind 100%? It's a really, really interesting movie. So, check it out. We won't get too much into that at the moment. So, all right, everybody, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Let's get to some shout outs here real quick.